Hello, everyone, again, and welcome back to the show. Uh, Today, again, on the what seems to be the center of the geopolitics in the latest days, the Gaza Strip, the Hamas attack. We know on the 7th October, Hamas has made an unprecedented attack, quite impressive, to say the least. And they went by land, by sea, by air, using all kinds of ingenious means to do it. And apparently, although this is still up for debate, apparently it is strange how one of the best, at least known by it to be one of the best secret services, information services of the world, it's still surprising how that was able to happen, how they managed to pull that out, and how Israel was caught off guard. This has sparked many reactions, many emotions, and being that one of them, the Western Bloc, seems to galvanize around Israel. And I mean, it's no surprising. And of course, there's a lot. I've mentioned this before. I'm going to sound again like a broken record, but it is a Western hypocrisy thing, because the United States immediately sent planes with ammunition and a carrier aircraft group to support Israel. And suddenly the West, also Ukraine at the center of the Western speech, all support for Israel. And the funny thing is that Zelensky is accusing Russia of plotting this, which is like, it doesn't make much sense, right? I believe that probably Zelensky might be in fear of having his aid reduced to Ukraine, because if the fight escalates around Israel, they will need real aid, real help from the US, like in the past, in the previous well-known wars between Arabs and Israel. And so, yeah, Zelensky have put out this statement accusing Russia, and it's strange when I watch that, which we might watch. Let me see if I have it right here at hand. Yeah, I got it right here. The one who called my attention to this was Jackson Hinkle. By the way, Jackson Hinkle has been censored for good on YouTube. He was demonetized about a year ago, and now his channel has been deleted. But I was watching Twitter, and I saw he tweeted this out, and so I will show it now. So.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці і українки. Сьогодні був дуже насичений день, різні наради, серед них особливо важливі ті, що стосуються нової міжнародної ситуації. Провів нараду з керівниками нашої розвідки, ГУР та зовнішньої розвідки, з нашими дипломатами щодо ситуації в Ізраїлі та навколо нього, та щодо загальної ситуації на Близькому Сході. Це має принципове значення для нас, не лише для України, а для всієї Європи. За наявною інформацією дуже чіткою, Росія зацікавлена в розпаленні війни на Близькому Сході, щоб нове джерело болю та страждань послабило.
So he talked with his internal secret services, the SPU, whoever, I don't know, the CIA, I don't know. And they provided him information that Russia was behind all this. I mean, buy it if you will. I don't buy it.
Світову єдність, додало розколів та протиріч, і цим допомогло Росії знищувати свободу в Європі. Ми бачимо, як російські пропагандисти зловтішаються Бачимо, як іранські друзі Москви цілком відверто підставляють плече тим, хто напав на Ізраїль, і все це значно більше загроза, ніж зараз світ сприймає.
He's saying like the French is talking about the friendship between Russia and Iran, and that the Russian propagandists are gloating about this attack and they support Hamas and da da da. I have news for Mr. Zelensky. Turkey also is known for supporting Hamas, and the Turkish people have made it clear in which side they are on. I mean, massive demonstrations. And Turkey is a NATO member, so bear that in mind, Mr. Zelensky.
Світові війни минулого розгорались саме із локальних агресій. Ми знаємо, як цій загрозі протидіяти. І готуємо відповідні кроки. А головне, захищаємо необхідність максимальної єдності світу. Сьогодні звернувся до учасників парламентської асамблеї НАТО, передусім про єдність, про те, що кожній державі у світі зараз треба обрати, як вона захищатиме міжнародне право. Захищатиме, а не залишатиме.
Okay, I think I mean, I know he's not talking from his own idea, from his own judgment. He's reading a paper. It's clear. He's just standing there and reading. Someone wrote that for him, and so I don't know what he means when he is the world needs to be united, or we need to unite the world, or who is he to speak in the name of the world? Most of the world does not align with U.S. policy, and many of those who do, they are coerced to do so. This is my opinion, of course. I will not hold it as the unchangeable truth, but this is what I think, because there have been many evidence of this diplomatic moves where countries change their stance at the UN voting to please the US. I mean, there's been journalistic work done about this, and you can, for example, go to the Gray Zone. Max Blumenthal, he's done excellent work, and also excellent work in covering the Israeli-Palestinian issues.
Лишатиметься осторонь, коли терор намагається взяти гору і коли на наших очах може зламати ще один регіон світу. Я вдячний усім лідерам та державам, які зараз повністю усвідомлюють небезпеку та готові працювати разом заради того, аби втримати ситуацію, втримати очевидних спонсорів терору від ширшого втручання. Провів сьогодні нараду зі...
Okay. Not to mention the weapons that have been told to be in Hamas hands coming from Ukraine, the black market. Okay, enough of Zelensky for now. And I have to go through some news before, but we see this stance. I mean, it's very clear when you read or watch or hear the speeches of the Western leaders. And I'm not talking about Zelensky now. I'm talking about the US leaders and the British leaders and the European Union leaders. They now have a permanently hostile position and a permanent stance of double standards. I mean, crying double standards, because this is suddenly what happened was Hamas attacked. Okay, I will condemn all violence in the world. Let me put this message very clear. I will never support, I will never be in favor of any civilians being attacked in any conflict for what reason whatsoever. So, putting that aside, we know that if you are so shocked with those images of Israeli civilians getting caught, if those images are true, well, we always have space for a little bit of doubt of all the images and videos that we watch on the net. There are no doubts when we hear the Israeli defense minister statement of yesterday, for example, when he considered literally the Palestinians subhumans. This should shock the advocates for democracy and freedom. But instead, it seems to, I mean, it seems to get people, people are numbed with this, or maybe they have a very hardwired, that's been imprinted for years, that somehow these people are not so important as those over there. But human rights, remember that human rights are always called as an argument, a strong argument, every time it suits the agenda of the US. Europe is just shameful. I mean, it's just a pity to see Europe following this path. We used to make the difference. We used to be the beacon of real civilization, at least for some decades after World War II. I know some issues still remain from colonialism past, and those became visible now, but there were good signs of evolution. And now it seems like everything is being reverted, like what's the word? Putting backwards again. Everyone is just with this very narrow speech of us against them. This used to be a speech that was exclusive from radical parties, including the United States. I do remember when George Bush Jr. was president, he popularized this speech of us against them. Remember that people got fed up of it, and everyone was cheering when Obama then took over, of course, to no avail, because we know what Nobel Peace Prize Obama did with his Nobel Peace Prize. It was bigger warmonger than even George Bush. And so, yeah, the hypocrisy continues. Let's see what's... we have at least a little bit of hope with this one. US condemns Gaza siege. I'm going to play this short video of Antonio Guterres. By the way, not very impressive performance when he was Portuguese Prime Minister. But let's hear it.
While I recognize Israel's legitimate security concerns, I also remind Israel that military operations must be conducted in strict accordance with international humanitarian law. Civilians must be respected and protected at all times. Civilian infrastructure must never be a target. And we already have reports of Israeli missiles striking health facilities inside Gaza, as well as multi-storied residential towers and a mosque. I am deeply distressed by today's announcement that Israel will initiate a complete siege of the Gaza Strip, nothing allowed in, no electricity, food or fuel. The humanitarian situation in Gaza was extremely dire before these hostilities. Now it will only deteriorate exponentially. This most recent violence does not come in a vacuum. The reality is that it grows out of a long-standing conflict, with a 56-year-long occupation and no political end in sight. It's time to end this vicious circle of bloodshed, hatred, and polarization. Israel must see its legitimate needs for security materialized, and Palestinians must see a clear perspective for the establishment of their own state realized.
Well said, Antonio Guterres. Well said. This is what I think precisely should happen in the two major conflicts at the moment. Both parties should see their interests realized, but we know that it's not like this because there are other major external players at work that do not wish this. So now it is very positive that UN condemns this and recognizes a 56-year-old occupation. So it's not just me saying and people calling me and others propagandists for this or for that. It's also the UN, so you can suck on that. But Israel was with these images that were poured in the first and second day, and there are still mainstream outlets like The Guardian and the BBC, Washington Post. They still put out just a one-sided narrative. It seems like when you read, for example, The Guardian, and you go through and you want to be informed, just relying on this news outlet, you have the feeling that only Hamas is attacking and only Hamas is provoking victims, and all the dead report on the Hamas side are terrorists. No, not a single civilian there, not a single child, not a single mother. I mean, the images are clear. Gaza's being razed. They are not. Everyone was. It was a big scandal every time a Russian missile or artillery shell hits a residential or a place where civilians might be. And sometimes, these stories were not completely accurate, as we came out to know. But when the United States and Israel goes in, there is no precising of targets. There is no choosing of targets. There is no mistakes to be made. They razed all the place to the ground. This results in human catastrophe. And there are people in the West that applaud this. And these people, when confronted with other political systems in the world, they always reply, no, that political system is not a democracy. They violate human rights, blah, 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 blah. And they cheer to dead families, to dead children, to the massacre of civilians who already have a very tough, very hard life inside of this open-air prison. So, the fear now is escalation. US politicians have begun saber-rattling against Iran. I don't know why. Of course, Iran was openly cheered the Hamas attack. But calling for the bombing of Iran? Is this what kind of thinking of an adult grown man? I don't know, Lindsey Graham, how old is he? 60s? In his 70s? It is behaving like a kid, a child. It's like, let's go there and break the other kid's castle or the other kid's playground or whatever. It's like this. He has no. It's amazing how these people are in these places of power, in the most powerful nation. And I mean, if you would give this command of if you'd give this power to my kids or any other kids that I know, they would do a much better job. I mean, this is cognitive dissonance at its best. This is psychopaths actually running the show. So Lindsey Graham was again rattling about how Iran should be bombed, and I mean, it doesn't. I don't think he grasps the reality of the event in the event that this would happen, right? So it's quite disturbing, and these people have they have airtime all the time. All the time, they spread this hate message all the time. These are the real. I mean, they cause very much harm to the world, and the Western electorate sometimes simply doesn't recognize it, and this is disturbing. Like I said, okay, I'm not gonna rant too much about this, but I will show you a piece that I want you to state your opinion on the comments about this old video that I found. Recognize this man? Joe Biden.
If we look at the Middle East, I think it's about time we stop, those of us who support, as most of us do, Israel in this body, for apologizing for our support for Israel. There's no apology to be made. None. It is the best $3 billion investment we make. Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interest in the region. The United States would have to go out and invent an Israel. If we look at the Middle East,
the United States will have to go out and invent an Israel. Do you need any more proof to understand this logic? I mean, this is open. I have to give credit to Joe Biden here because he was being plain honest. Plain honest. I mean, no one can be fooled by this. He's clear stating it, right? And do you notice the similarities with the Lindsey Graham? The best $3 billion investment. So they invest in killing. They invest in making life miserable for other countries in the name of oligarchs, U.S. oligarchs' interests, and this is the name of the game. I mean, this it's not much to say when you hear a speech like this. What can I say? What can I add to this? Does it look like to you the beacon of freedom, the beacon of democracy? What democracy is involved here? So, you make your own judgment. Okay, just a quick. Let's see. Maria Zakharova put out a statement. Let's go just briefly. Maria Zakharova stressed that Russia was in close contact with the leading regional players whose role in stabilizing the situation and creating conditions for stabilizing direct Palestinian-Israeli dialogue was indispensable. So, Russia is ready to make every effort to help reach a settlement between Israel and Palestine, and it is in contact with the leading regional players. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova. She's a brilliant spokesperson. I mean, no comparison to Western counterparts. We indeed stand ready to continue to provide comprehensive assistance to the sides in order to de-escalate the confrontation and establish a ceasefire. We are in close contact with leading regional players whose role in stabilizing the situation and creating conditions for establishing direct Palestinian-Israeli dialogues is indispensable, the diplomat said at a news conference. So, please compare the two speeches. Compare the Western narrative and the evil Russian narrative. Who comes across to you as being reasonable? Who comes across to you as speaking as an adult in his right sense, in his right mind should speak? I leave that judgment up to you as well. Anyway, I just read the news. I'm not finding it at the moment, but I read somewhere that EU was backtracking on cutting the aid completely to Palestine. I haven't digged into that yet, but I advise you to because I think it is relevant. I gotta make this live stream very shorter today because I got another live stream of a completely different subject later. It will be just on Facebook. It's in Portuguese, about a friend of mine who made quite an odyssey in his bike through mountains and places. Nothing to do with this. Anyway, thanks for being with me. Please support this channel. Please subscribe. Help me grow this. I mean, I'm just gonna say Jackson Hinkle, Earl Grey, John Mark Dougan, my friend Russell Bentley. I mean, and I'm sure there are others, but I'm just naming these four. They're all censored on YouTube. Maybe one day it will happen to me. I know it only happens when you have quite some visibility. So I think for now I might skip under the radar. Skip the radar, I mean. Forgive my stumbling in English. Anyway, if you like this channel, please subscribe. I mean, and I also take suggestions. If you have any subject you like me to address, geopolitical or other whatsoever subject, I will try to do my best to do it. And I'll try to go through the news and through the available information and give you my opinion about it. If it is worth to you, if it is thought-provoking at least, then it made my day already. Thank you very much. And of course, until the next time. Thank you. Thank you for all your comments. Okay, before going, Fightback is asking me, why don't you do these lives in Portuguese? Boa pergunta. Claire Daly, definitely. Okay, I'll stay a little bit longer to answer your comments. Claire Daly, I would love to interview her. I would love to interview many people, but people are hard to concede me their time because I'm very little guy and very unknown. And sometimes I send messages and I get little replies. Sometimes I'm lucky and I get some replies. For example, there is if you like to follow the geopolitical scene in Portuguese, I advise you an excellent channel from Mr. Alexandre Guerreiro. Is a brilliant person. He's an academic. He understands much more of this than me. He's a different kind of approach. He's a more scientific approach than I do. I have a more emotional and and intuitive approach to these subjects. Of course, I do possess some knowledge of history. I do read. I'm interested. I've always been interested in all my life, but I consider myself a curious person. Fight back in Portuguese, just to you. Epá, eu não faço isto em português porque eu não consigo. Eu considero que, por exemplo, o Alexandre Guerreiro, o mercado é pequeno, não é? Portugal, claro que temos o Brasil, mas eu considero o Alexandre Guerreiro a pessoa que já faz um grande trabalho e eu até tenho vergonha de tentar ombrear com ele. Ok. And yeah, so I'm trying to read a broader audience, and sometimes I try to. Some of my idols are, for example, Earl Grey. I really enjoyed watching him. I take great inspiration in his work. The Duran, of course. I follow the Duran. Although I do not agree with all the analysis they make, they are very competent. I consider all of these that I mentioned much more competent than me. Just trying to find my space. That's it. Yes, Alexandre Guerreiro is too focused in the Russia-Ukrainian conflict, but he has knowledge and greater knowledge. I had the privilege to interview him a couple of times already in this channel. I will send the invitation to Claire Daly. That I can promise. That I can promise. Yes. So, live streams in Portuguese. I've been building this in English now. If I do in Portuguese, I'm afraid to lose a lot of followers. Please have patience with me. Okay, but obrigado a todos. And please support this channel. It means much to me. It's my space to let out what I think. Otherwise, you just feel suffocated. I believe you feel the same if you share my opinion. Thank you very much. Obrigado. Rule screening, just before I go. Members of the parliament. I mean, the Portuguese Communist Party has been the only dissonant voice from the rest of the world. That's all I can say. Okay, enjoy, guys. Enjoy being with. I have to go. I have to go and rush and prepare another live stream with my friend Dino. He's a crazy rider. He just made 740 kilometers through mountains and goat trails in 90 hours, hardly sleeping. Bye bye. Adeus.